so probably we'll let Joyce to take over from now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
All right.
Sitin. Thanks, Prof, for your intro. So I'm going to go now to share my screen. And pulling out my presentation now. Just give me a minute. Can you all see my presentation? Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm able to see your screen.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to start now. And thank you, everyone, including especially to Pam, Dr. Shirini, for inviting me to have an opportunity to share about my journey living with epilepsy as a caregiver. So what I'm going to share with you right now will be really from my own personal perspective of a mom with an epileptic child. Her condition is more towards, I wouldn't say it's the more severe, but it's the less manageable kind of epilepsy. So as I share with some of you who happen to be parents, who have children who are early detected with epilepsy, do not get overtaken by the things that I have experienced, because you may not experience the same thing as me. And for those of you who happen to have a more difficult time than me, I just hope that by sharing some of my experiences, it will make the life more manageable. Okay, so I'm going to actually start, and I'll try to do some bilingual, because I also noticed in the group that we have bilingual. So saya mak seorang anak yang bersakit sawan. So she's an epileptic, and this is my girl, my second girl, who has been having epilepsy for coming to 31 years. So anak saya tu dia masa berlahir memang sihat, okay, very, very healthy. Even when somebody at home has a flu, has cough and cold, she never gets it. Semuanya yang best sekali. She's really very good. Until she was 8 months old, she had her first seizure. And we were frantic. We didn't know what to do, but we were told that okay, they found some virus, in her urine, and so it was written off as febrile fits. And we had the assumption that we just need to monitor her when she has her fever, and things should be all right. Jadi kita ingat lepas tu mungkin dia ada sakit, demam, kita tak perasan, so dapatlah sawan. But the sad thing is lepas 8 bulan lagi, when she was 16 months old, it came back. It came back very frequently. And we were so scared that every time she had a seizure, we sent her into the hospital. So we can say that every month we spent days in the hospital, just because we didn't know what to do with her. Gambar yang saya tunjuk kat sini is memang umur dia masa dia kecil, sampai when she was a teenager. Okay, she's very bubbly, happy. Pasal anak kan, as a kid, you don't actually understand so much about the problem you're having, and she grew up very happy. Tapi semasa dia masuk remaja, into the teenage years, I suppose not being able to express it, but she realized she's different. And you can see from that picture in the middle that she looks so different, and she was actually very, very depressed. Tapi mujurnya, I'm actually pretty fortunate that I learned how to manage her situation, and the gambar terakhir is actually her taken last year. That's the photo that was taken of her last year. So how was my journey? I suppose untuk semua keluarga yang ada anak yang bersawan, all of us, okay, even if the child is a baby, we go through this period. When it first starts, we're so scared. We don't know what to do. We don't know what it is all about, and we become so stressful, okay? And in my case, is pasal ketakutan. It's something very new to us. I have an elder girl, but she was so healthy. So when my younger girl came along and she had this seizure, we really didn't know what to do, and I was like all lost. And we felt so scared that we had a messed up schedule. Kadang-kala bila kita sudah nak keluar for a dinner and she has a fit, she has a seizure, we're so afraid of disturbing other people. So we would just cancel. So our diary or our life is totally all messed up. We live by the day. Tapi, as doctor said, epilepsy when they start at a younger age, sometimes tak teruk sangat. Over time, it could actually improve. So we lived with hope. Tunggulah, when she's 6 years old, hopefully she'll be okay. Then there's a hormonal change when you enter into your teen that is 12 years old. So tunggu, we waited. We waited and waited and waited, but nothing really improved. And as you can see, of course now some of these drugs untuk keluarga yang ada anak kecil, you will not see some of these drugs given to your child because she's already an adult. But the combination of drugs from childhood to adult tak berbeza. And she happened to be in the category yang tadi Prof ada kata, she is in a category yang kita tak tahu. We actually until today do not know what caused the onset of her seizure. Her seizure, for your information, is the kind where she does not know when it happens. But the risk factor that we have and that actually causes us a lot of fear and anxiety and also issues along the way was because when she has a seizure, she just falls. Dia memang just macam kita ada power cut. Tuk, tengah makan jatuh. Jalan-jalan jatuh. Main-main jatuh. Okay, so she can just fall down anywhere, anytime, any place. And when she started schooling, when she was 5 years old, kita perasan juga that she had a learning problem. Okay, itu markah dia masa dia, I think dalam darjah 2 ke darjah 1. But she couldn't learn and she used to sleep in class and all that. Because of the combination of the drugs that she had been taking, medically, we think that the drugs had a cause for her to be lethargic. Okay, jadi memang ada pesakit sawan yang ada masalah pembelajaran. But then later we did EEGs and all that, and there was one time when I was in Australia, and I also just consulted a neurologist there to see whether learning was actually related to her medical problem. And the feedback I had was it may, but it might not have as well, because some children can have epilepsy without learning issue, and some people do have it as a combination. Tapi lepas pergi cari-cari, ultimately when she was 16 years old, we realized that she actually had two problems. A medical problem, epilepsy, but she actually also had a learning problem. So yang kat sini yang I nak share dengan ibu bapa yang ada anak kecil yang bermasalah pelajaran is do not give up hope trying to help your child to learn, because kadang-kala maybe it could actually be two different issues happening to your child at the same time. So what happened over time is now I have a medical condition. I have also got my kid not learning, but then of course the more important one for me was the medical. And macam Prof Tan just shared with us just now, ada kebanyakan benda that an epileptic patient is not recommended to do. Okay, so we found, she can sometimes have a seizure when she's in the swimming pool, and since she falls every time, we live with fear. We dare not let her play games because if she plays certain games, she might also fall down and hurt herself. We dare not give her sharp objects because we were so afraid that she was going to cut her hand, and it will bleed and so on. So we really protected her until we did everything for her. Okay? It was out of love, but sometimes it was also out of convenience because when she starts doing it, she takes a long time. But I would say majority of the time is because of fear, kerana ketakutan. So because of fear, okay, we also kind of held her back in her social development. Tak berani kita bagi dia keluar okay, kalau kita tak ada dengan dia. So if her cousins wanted to go out and the aunt was going to take them, I would not allow her to join them. Because kenapa? Nantilah, you know, budak-budak, and then you have one adult taking 2 or 3. I will have to fear like if she gets a sawan, will my sister-in-law know what to do with her, etc. So she was not allowed to go anywhere to participate in any social activity kalau me or the father didn't go with her. While we had all this juggling around, I realized by the time my elder girl masuk umur 10, I had actually very little time left for my elder girl. Perbezaan umur between the two of them was 7 years apart. So when my younger girl was born, my elder girl was 7 years old. And in the first 3 years, as we were trying to adapt to this new situation, we spent so much time. And like I said, in the early part, every month we go to the hospital. So we realized, or by the time 3 years passed, I realized that I didn't really talk to my elder girl that much anymore. And my elder girl was like feeling so left alone. So after struggling through for 3 years, okay, and going through the years and looking at situation, going to the hospital, seeing that some children had epilepsy worse off than my child, some were better, some drugs could control, some couldn't, some had worse tantrums than my girl and all that. Over time, I came to my senses. Jadi saya pun rasa if I'm going to live in a world that is controlled by epilepsy, then the whole family has no life and my child has no life juga. So what I decided after that slowly was to try to fix what was not working. And I started that by saying I have to be in control. And how do I start that? The first thing we have, if we have someone with epilepsy in our family, is we have to accept. Okay, kita kena terima. For whatever reason, memang ini ahli keluarga kita, there's nothing we can do to change. But when we know that we have to accept them as a family member, and we want to be in control of the situation, then we need to understand. We need to go understand deeper into what are the things we can do and what are the things we cannot do living with a person with epilepsy in the family. And then we took the step as a family to move forward, to change and adapt. So this was basically what I did. By the time she went into depression, okay, we realized it was not working. And I think she went into depression because she's also intellectually disabled. I don't know what is exactly the cause of it. So she has epilepsy. She ended up with learning difficulty. And probably by us being overprotective and us not giving her chance to, you know, socialize and all that, she just couldn't express herself, and she's intellectually, you know, having intellectual developmental delays. Okay. So during the time when she went into depression, that's the time I said, okay, this is enough. I need to fix back the life. And this is the principal chart, which will be my call to action. Okay, untuk sesiapa yang ada ahli keluarga who has epilepsy, this is what I did, which works for me. I hope it works for you too. The first thing I did was, sawan dia boleh datang in 3 days, 5 days, or 7 days. And we don't know when it will happen. We have no sign, we have no indicator. It just tiba-tiba datang. So I started keeping a diary. I kept a diary of where she went, what she ate, what she did, everything. And then I re-looked at that to see if there was actually something in common that seems to happen every time something happens or every time she eats something. And after that, I kind of like just suspect, oh, like for example, tadi Professor Tan also said, you know, food is not a main thing for the cause of epilepsy. But then I realized, and I actually at one time, like, everything cannot eat. A lot of things cannot eat, but then that's not life. So I started giving her, and one example, very clear one, is longan. I realized that when she took longan, she really did have epilepsy. She would have an attack. But then I said she loved it. So I either don't give it to her or I give it to her, but then I have the risk of running the seizure. So I started doing like, what happens if she take 5 or 10? And then I present that with 5 or 10, it probably maybe like Prof say now that I'm educated a bit more, maybe it's the sugar level. It didn't interrupt a lot and dia boleh makan. But if I just left that bowl of longan to her and she eat and eat, until she's happy, then that day she gets a seizure. So I try to use a lot of trial and error, guessing like what activity caused the seizure. Then I try to repeat it. I execute back the same thing to try and see if the same problem comes up. And if it comes, then I'll put it into my little book of epilepsy trigger. And that's actually what I did for the medical. And as she grew older, and now that she's an adult, I wanted her to be an independent person. So her masalah is she can jatuh every time. So I found that getting her a job might be very difficult. So what I did was I tried to observe what she is capable of. She's obviously behind in academics, but I found that she was very good in art. So I tried to build something on art, and with art, then it's what can I do with her to earn a living in art, and then tested it out, looked at what works, what doesn't work, what can she do independently, what does she need to do with help. And I'm still living by this model today. For all of you who are at a loss of what to do, probably this is a takeaway model that you can practice and try to identify to help your child control the seizures or make life more manageable, or as they grow older, is to try and find something that they can do working around their limitations. Okay? And I'm happy that today I followed the model. We leverage on her choice of colors to go into art. And we also use her art, if you can see in this picture here, that we use it into fashion wear and items. So we just built a little business for her. But we're still living with epilepsy. She still has epilepsy. Okay? And she's still intellectually disabled. She's not age appropriate, but she can read and write now, pretty basic, but good enough for her to send text messages and to order food when she's in a restaurant. So this is my little sharing, okay, of my life with someone with epilepsy throughout her life, and a bit more on the upper scale because it's not something that drugs could control, and having multiple problems. I do not know whether anyone wants to have any questions or you have anything else you want to ask me. I'm happy to share my own personal thoughts or feelings.
Hi, Joyce.
But that's my presentation, Tim.
You are very courageous, and thank you for sharing something so personal about your journey as a caretaker. I guess as a mother, even as parents, if or you yourself have epilepsy, it is certainly very challenging to hear your ups and downs, and especially you do not know when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, what is going to happen, how it actually lead to a sequence of anxiety and a sequence of don't know what kind of questions you'll be facing. Anyone here would like to ask questions?
Joyce, sorry. Thank you so much again for the excellent talk. I was like really enjoying your talk while having my lunch, so I'm going to switch off my video here so people can't see me talking away. But would you like to share, like, with everyone, like, Janet is so talented. After all you have told us, I think not many people here know that how talented Janet is. Would you like to share, like, I don't know if you have it, like some of her paintings and all the competitions that and she's won, and also I think this she managed to sell her painting in the US as well. Would you like to share that with us?
Yes, sure. What I would actually do is I'm going to put onto the chat. If you are on Facebook, which all of you are because you are members to Pam, is you can look up for her name, which is artist Janet Lee, and she has a Facebook page. So over there, you can look at her milestones and more things about what she does. But I would have to say, and this is something I want to share with parents. Thank you, Dr. Shirini, for giving me this chance. Now, when we have a child who has epilepsy and her kind of epilepsy where she has such poor motor skills and coupled with learning difficulty and coupled again with intellectual disability, it was very, very hard. And nobody believed that something could happen out of her, you know. So one thing as a mother, and if you remember, my action chart was observe. So I wanted her to earn a living or to be a useful contributor to society. And I realized that for everything that I let her do, color was the only thing that she kept doing. So I thought there must be something in colors or as an artist that she could do. However, at a younger age, and this, of course, to be fair to the teachers, we are talking about 20 years ago, art teachers have a prim and proper way of conducting art. And when they do that, and when I sent Janet there, they told me that she was not talented and she was not even artistic for the matter because she would not draw what the teachers wanted her to draw. She disliked drawing. Later, I knew there was something called vision processing, where what she saw and what the mind processed and the output totally differs from what we see. So she had this problem, so she hated drawing and she just had her own choice of colors that people could not appreciate. So out of 4 or 5 teachers when she was younger, they just kept telling me, no, she's not an artist and neither can she be developed into one. But as a mom, and as all of us down here, we never give up hope. So every time I see somebody, I would talk to them. And ultimately, only in 2011, I managed to find an art teacher who was able to work with me just to support Janet in developing something that she wants using art. And that is actually when her art journey started. So from the art journey, we started, I also found that Janet is very motivated as an entrepreneur. Whenever she sees her things being sold, she likes, and that's how I moved on. If you go to her Facebook page, you will find that she has other products like masks, face masks, handbags, and so on, because using art into as designs onto these products will give her a more long-lasting business than just selling art as one business, but she still also sells her art. It's been a very long journey, and I want to admit it's a very long journey. It's not an easy journey, but if we do not give up and we just use the observe that I shared with you earlier, plan something based on what you think your child can do, execute the plan, review it, see what works, what doesn't work, tidy it up and go around the circle, which I'm still doing. I'm still doing around the circle. You will reach there sometime. Hopefully not as long as me, yeah.
Maybe you can
So
share your link in the Facebook, the Facebook.
yes,
Uh,
she's the
mm,
link is already there. You just look for
in,
artist Janet Lee and you
mm,
will see her.
mm,
Her Instagram is the same, but at the moment I'm more active on Facebook. So there are a lot more
mm.
posts on
And
Facebook.
also your model for those who are interested in knowing how to execute the plan, that very nice model that you have just now. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much
So
for your sharing.
welcome. I think there are some questions down here. So if we want to move on to the next program, I will just individually reply to them in the chat if
Mm,
that's okay.